This is the start of my series on Tianjin, a resplendent city named for being the river crossing of the Son of Heaven. It does enjoy Beijing, seat of the Son of Heaven, referring to ancient Chinese sovereigns, by the way, for those not familiar with this Chinese expression. And for those planning to tour China for the first time, I bet Beijing is high on your list of destinations. It is the beautiful capital of our beautiful country and home to some of the world's most visited attractions. But if time permits, I implore you to visit this metropolis next door. The two are intimately related but notably different. If you were to come to Tianjin from Beijing by train, this notable difference is apparent right away as you step out of the Tianjin railway station, which might feel like a wormhole that teleported you from ancient China to 19th century Europe. The views here ought to appear oddly familiar if you've traveled or lived in the West. After all, Tianjin was among the Chinese cities most extensively pried open by foreign colonizers and carved into foreign concessions in the 19th century. Not so glorious parts of the past from some perspectives. I feel the same about my hometown China, Hong Kong. But such distinct history endows Tianjin with a distinct cityscape, distinct and gorgeous cityscape. Take for instance, Liberation or Jiefang Bridge. It is the most distinct memory I have from my 2008 trip, alongside Gaobuli Buns, the latter of which I reckon most locals would advise you to skip. This structure was previously named 10,000 Nations Bridge for the international composition of the city population. It was also colloquially called French Bridge because it lies at one end of the then French concession and was designed by a French and built at the request of the French, but using funds from the local customs. Other bridges spanning the Hai River might also look oddly familiar, but oddly interesting too, because of touches that only make sense in a city with genuine East meets West heritage like Tianjin. The Beidaguan Bridge behind me was completed in 1939 and received several overhauls in subsequent decades. Its current form is supposedly modeled after Pont Alexandre III of Paris, with exuberant sculptures to match. However, gone are the nymphs and cherubs, replaced by the four symbols of Chinese constellation, as in the four mythological creatures of a zoo dragon, white tiger, vermilion bird, and black tortoise. Beside them are maidens carrying traditional Chinese musical instruments. Farther up the river is Shizilin Bridge, literally Lion Forest Bridge, another fusion architecture with Western structure and Chinese embellishments. There are over 1,000 lions on this bridge. Perhaps the design took cue from Sanqiakou Bridge inside the Summer Palace in neighboring Beijing, which is home to 554 stone lions. I'll write about these Tianjin bridges in the description section below. The earliest Lion Forest Bridge was built in 1954. To its western end is a restaurant that is even older, Yan Chunlao, with a legacy dating to 1927. And we're gonna head there for a fusion sort of dish. I'm talking about Chuan Bao, which is usually taken as a short for 南京 Chuan Bao, literally flash fried full assortment with milk sauce. The milky, garlicky flavor combo is intense and incredible. If that sounds like your type of combo, hit that like. Nanjing Chuan Bao is a member in a family of bao or flash fried dishes. According to some foodies, one criteria of a good flash fry is contents coated in sauce but not drowning in a pool of sauce. And the sauce isn't necessarily milky. I've read articles explaining that nai bao, milky flash fry method has existed for a century, but an established chef openly claims that he invented it in '96. Whatever the origin, I say the nai bao is already a unique classic. The thing is, much of East Asia didn't consume dairy products historically, which is why you don't see much milk in traditional Han Chinese cuisine, especially when used in conjunction with the emblematically Chinese cooking technique of stir frying. The only other example I could think of is stir-fried buffalo milk of Shunde cuisine, and that too is only about a century old. So I don't know how Tianjiners came up with this idea, but it is fitting of a people with such diverse background. And for much of the world today, including China, milk is nothing strange nor special. But milk and stir fry as a whole, that is pretty special. When feasible, come see the real beautiful China, come to Tianjin and try this special milky flash fry. Or a variety of other flash fries that differ in the types and number of ingredients. For example, Yanchun Lao is a halal restaurant, so no pork tenderloin, pork liver, etc. in the flash fries, replaced by the likes of shrimp, squid, chicken, etc. Many of Tianjin's iconic dishes are halal because many of the city's iconic dishes and historic restaurants are attributed to and operated by the Huai Muslims. They've contributed immensely to the gastronomy of Tianjin, as they have in Xi'an and other cities across China, like I explained in a recent episode. But Tianjin is unique because rarely do you find a coastal city with such deep-rooted Huai heritage, giving rise to unique fusions that melt halal cooking and seafoods, like this flash fry, or other creations such as Beidaguan and Guyi. So that's very symbolic of this city, well known for its seaside and diversity. So don't miss them when you visit Tianjin. 再见。